Is American gravel racing getting humbled at this year's Cape Epic? That's what we're going to be talking about. It's really interesting because we happen to have two of the best U.S. gravel racers, both of which that have won the Lifetime Grand Prix for the past 2 years in the case of Sofia Gomez and the past 3 years for Keegan Swenson. So we have the heavy hitters, the best of what U.S. gravel has to offer. They are racing some of the best cross-country racers in the world. Somebody that you probably heard of, Nino Schurter, among others. They are racing there at the Cape Epic, a very unique and cool event, a multi-stage mountain bike race. Very atypical. Usually mountain bike races are, the traditional cross-country format is about an hour. Short track is about half that. And there are longer duration events, but there's not very many multi-stage events like we see at a Grand Tour in sort of professional road cycling. And so it's a really interesting, unique kind of cross-discipline event, and sometimes you can expect to see results that would vary from what you would expect, but it's really interesting to see Keegan Swenson and Sofia Gomez. Not only are they the two best and current reigning Lifetime Grand Prix winners, they're actually a couple. This is Keegan's third race at the Cape Epic. I'm not sure if Sofia has been there before. Needless to say, I was and still am very interested to see how they perform. And so far, Sofia and her teammate, sorry I have to look, Annika Longvad, have been just dominating. They're in the lead. They look to be the strongest duo. So it is a team race. So there's 2 riders per team and they are kicking butt. She is kind of representing U.S. gravel as good as anyone could hope for. She's the strongest rider that we have here in the U.S. scene, and she's kicking butt there. There's still quite a few stages left, but it has been really impressive to see how strong she is, even amongst the really elite cross-country racers. Now, it seems like there's not quite the same depth of field in the women's division as the men's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't as many cross-country heavy hitters, so it might not be quite as competitive as the men's, where, now talking about the men, obviously you have Nino Schurter, the literal GOAT of cross-country mountain biking, probably out of his prime, I'd say it's kind of fair to say, but definitely still, again, the greatest of all time when it comes to a cross-country mountain bike, as well as a bunch of other elite cross-country racers, and really the majority of the top 5 are World Cup cross-country racers, with Keegan Swenson and his teammate Matthew Beers being kind of a hybrid mountain biker, but obviously now focusing a lot more on gravel. And that is a long rant into ultimately the question posed at the beginning: is Keegan Swenson and U.S. gravel getting humbled by this year's Cape Epic? And I would say yes. The reason is Keegan Swenson is not just one of the best racers from the U.S. in the U.S. gravel scene that has been so popular, and it's one of the coolest scenes in the world of cycling, but he is absolutely dominated, like a world apart. The series, the Lifetime Grand Prix overall series, has existed for 3 years. Keegan Swenson has won each of the 3 times he's competed in it in the overall, and so he is currently the face of U.S. gravel. And honestly, I was kind of expecting more, especially when you look at and realize many of these cross-country racers are focusing more of their time and energy and training on shorter duration races. Like I said, XCO event is about an hour. Short track is about half that. Keegan obviously racing in gravel, which is more akin to road. Often you're looking at 6, 7, 8, or the Unbound is like 9+ hours. And so you would think Keegan would be really well adept at taking it to these elite cross-country guys and beating them, but it's just not been the case. This is now, and again, I know there's lots of racing to go, but 9 minutes down from these elite caliber cross-country dudes is hard to imagine him being able to make up the ground. And it was interesting. I love US gravel. I love the scene, but it is a little bit of a check in terms of it's easy to get excited. It's easy to see the success that riders like Keegan is having and go, man, this is so significant. What does this mean for his potential on the world tour or cross country? What if Matthew Vanderpool or one of those level riders come over and race it? And it's easy to get a little bit overly excited because at the end of the day, as strong as US gravel is and, series and events like the Lifetime Grand Prix and Unbound and races like that, it is still a national series. There is simply not the depth of talent at most of these gravel races that there are at World Cup cross-country races, and especially the peak of endurance cycling is obviously World Tour races. Clearly, this dude is a, apex athlete. He is not going there to just hang out, and he wants to win it. He wants to put that sort of like that check mark on his resume. And based on so far 9 minutes down, it is a bit of a reality check for the gravel racing enthusiast that as much as we love it, and I love it myself, it's just not at the level. I mean, everybody knows it's not at the level of World Tour racing. That's not news. Obviously, the best and the strongest are winning spring classics and the grand tours. So obviously it's not at that level, but I honestly would have assumed that it would be a little bit closer to World Cup cross country than it is. So I'm just surprised to see Keegan Swenson and his teammate Matthew Beers not doing better, not showcasing that same, when he dominates races in the US, and anybody that follows it knows that he is a couple levels, pretty much if he shows up, he's winning. Barring some incident, he's going to win. But he's just, when it comes to these elite heavy hitter World Cup cross country dudes, he's just not at their level. At least maybe things could change, but currently it's very hard for me to imagine him and his teammate making up this deficit. And it's funny reading some of the comments, people talking about, man, these cross country guys are going to hit the wall and they're going to come back. And you can clearly read between the lines that they're fans of gravel racing, and I am as well. But I think many of us, got to swallow our pride and go, we love our US gravel, but there is levels to it. And, when you go up against those heavy hitters, and we're not even talking about the World Tour level, that's on sort of even a step above. It's not at that level. There's a reason why at these US gravel races, the majority of the racers are Americans. And then when you go overseas, whether World Cup or World Tour, there's only a few Americans because those other races really have, international level of competition. Every country, for the most part, is there competing, where in the US gravel, it's pretty much mostly Americans. And it's just easy to get overly excited and to over extrapolate the results. What does winning Unbound mean in terms of what you could accomplish at a World Tour event? I think it means something. I think there is significance there, but not a lot. It's just, there's levels to it, as people say, and US gravel racing is improving. The depth is steadily working up, but it's not to World Cup cross country. That is honestly a surprise to me. I thought Keegan would be pretty close or right there with these dudes, especially because, another rant is you look at Nino Schurter and a couple of the dudes competing here, they're much bulkier and heavier than the majority of the gravel racers. Typically, cross-country racers are carrying 10, 20, 30 more pounds of muscle than many of the gravel racers, and definitely the road cyclists. So for this long duration, multi-stage race, again, I wouldn't say shocked, but I would say I'm surprised that Keegan Swenson is not doing better. I can tell you that when you win a lot and you go to a different race, you want to win. In fifth place, I can almost guarantee you for Keegan is not good enough. And it's tough, Sometimes you're the big fish in the little pond, and then you jump up to the bigger pond and there's fish quite a bit bigger than you. And that's how it looks to me. With the exception of Sofia Gomez and her teammate, they're dominating. She's an absolute badass. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Are you watching the race? And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video.